Welcome everyone to day 19 of the Inktober Zentangle challenge here on the Tangles and Toons channel. We've continued to work on our layout progress, and as you can see here, we've made some pretty good progress so far this month, and we've got quite a number of days left, but we are past that halfway point. We're over the hump, as they say, and so we've got some spaces to fill. And today's tangle is a particularly interesting one. It's called Mrth. And Gayle, this one might require some additional clarification. What do you think?
Yes, let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit. So, before we jump into our actual project here, let me pull out my handy-dandy Post-it scratch tool, and let's talk a little bit. So if you follow the link in the official step-out list for this Inktober, you see that there is a tangle pattern called Pangea. And it is, in essence, little shapes like this, kind of randomized, flowing shapes that can interlock with each other. And they can create filling, or I should say it this way, and they can be used to fill an area with as few or as many of those little odd shapes as you'd want, and this then can become a tangle that fills an area by itself, or it can be used as what we call in Zentangle a reticula that allows you a space in which to place other tangles. And when it comes to Mrth, the tangle for today, that's exactly what's happening. In Mrth, we basically are adding embellishments and additional details to the Pangea form. And I'm just drawing lines here, but in the actual Mrth pattern, these lines are all weighted. Okay, we put that little triangular weight on the end, and you know me, I'm just doing this scratchy, sloppy version to illustrate something. But once we do that and we fill in the various details, this pattern now is called Mrth. Now the difference is, what if I have a different shape? What if I have a square and I put weighted lines in it? Well, does that become Mrth? No, that's just a square with some Zentangle weighted lines in the midst of it. But what if I have a circle that I put lines in that are weighted? Again, very sloppily illustrated here. Well, if I have this circle with these weighted lines, it actually becomes another tangle called, pepper. Or at least a very similar form of pepper. So it's not just these lines that make it Mrth, but when we combine it with the shape of Pangea and add the lines, and when we add them in a certain way, it becomes Mrth, which is the tangle for today. Now with those details aside, we can begin to add to our page layout. And I'm going to add on this right-hand side of mine, I'm going to squeeze one or two of these Pangea and therefore Mrth shapes into this area. So I'm just going to take my pen, and in this case, the Pangea initial form is super helpful because I can literally flow it in to this area and create whatever kind of outline I'd like to do. And I'm going to add one more smaller one here to this side. Just like that. Now the next part of Mrth is that we want to create a little shape like this, a C shape. It looks like a letter C laying on its back, in which we can draw some lines that are going to come out of that, and it creates kind of the unique central component of the Mrth shape. But I want to show you something else here real quick. So if we have our Pangea and we've added the little C, now in some of the step outs, you can see that these lines, they come up, they become weighted, And again, I'm doing this very sloppy. I apologize for that repetition. I just don't want you to think this is how I draw. And then we can create a continuity line back there. And then they say take it off from there, right off from the side. Some places say draw it straight out. I don't think we need to be worried about that intricate of a detail, but then we just create these additional lines that are coming off, and they get weighted, and we put them at whatever intervals we feel comfortable with. But you can also draw these shapes here as though they are escaping from the actual inner shape and add some more interesting embellishments to your Mrth or Pangea or altogether pattern. So this is something to do. Well, I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to twist it a little bit harder so that I can call it a true Tangle and Toons tangulation. But I think if I did something like this, it's a tangulation or a modification. But if you push it as far as I'm going to, it really does warrant a Toon Alert. So, as that Toon Alert sounds, I want to give you a heads up that I'm going to modify my version a little bit further and make it a little goofier. Not necessarily Halloween themed directly, but I guess indirectly we could say any kind of creature or strange looking thing might qualify. And that's what I'm going to do here. So on my first Mrth, I'm going to draw these lines. They are going to escape, but they're going to come up here and they're going to escape into a nice, good-sized orb up here. I'm doing this lightly because I'm going to modify this a little bit. And this one's going to come up here. Same idea. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a couple arched or curved lines. And you probably can already guess what I'm going to turn this into. For me, this Mrth shape is going to become kind of like an alien amoeba or some kind of crazy thing. Now, if you don't want to do this, as I've said with all my little Toon Alerts, you can ignore this. You can say, Dave, you've lost your mind. You can't draw a single tangle without making it into something. Well, that might be a little exaggeration, but I get you. And if you're not interested in doing this with yours, I don't want you to worry about it. But if you'd like to do it, I'm adding some little, what I call wrinkle lines on the top and bottom of this eyeball, just to give it a little bit more of an alien appearance. Little something unusual. We've got to be able to close and open our eye here, right? If we're some kind of creature. So that just shows maybe that that's where those little bends and folds of skin are taking place. And then I am going to ink these little stems all the way so that they become corollaries or clearly connected in some way to the lines that are around this shape in its more traditional sense. So I'm coming down there. Now, as I draw, before I close this out, I'm going to go up just a little bit above this line and create a nice downward slope like this, because I want to make that little piece like it's risen up in the center of this shape, and this is going to help me to create that illusion. So now I can start creating my weighted lines. And I don't need one behind here necessarily, so I'm going to just close this up, my continuity lines. And let's draw some additional ones that look like they're coming out from behind here, giving some shape to my little alien amoeba, as I called it. But you can call it whatever you want. It can be a Mrth. And that's quite all right. And now in the front, we want to try to draw those in such a way they probably don't connect right to the edge, but you could do that and still leave a nice white spot there when we shade it. So I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do. It's going to come down, and I want to show where maybe there's some bends and folds in the shape of this little tangle creature. And your spacing between these can be whatever you'd like it to be. It doesn't have to mirror my own. They can be closer together, further apart. It doesn't matter. And by just curving them here and there, we give the impression of shape to this outline that we've got. By shape, I mean three-dimensional shape. Obviously, it has a shape, even as an outline, but by curving it here and there, we can give, once we add our shading especially, we can really give this a sense of three-dimensionality. So there's my first little Mrth creature. And we can ink this in here if you'd like to, giving it kind of a little, I don't know if that's a mouth or if that's just a little hole in the belly button that these eyes come out of, or whatever other creepy thing you want to think of. But that's just my silliness at play there. You can have whatever theory you want about this creature. Maybe they're mom and dad bug eyes, or maybe they're brother and sister, or super pals. Who knows what's going on in the eyes and the minds of a Mrth creature. That's part of the fun of creating art. You can have whatever imaginary story you want behind the scenes. There's no right or wrong to that either, right? And regardless if you're turning yours into a little creature or not, the process is very, very similar. You're going to just draw that outer shape. You're going to draw your center C shape with the lines that come from there up to this outer edge. And you're going to call it a day. So it's roughly the same thing. You just a little less time with some of these weird details, perhaps. Or as I jokingly call them, weird. And now we are at the point where we can do some shading. So I'm going to grab my pencil, and I'll show you how I'm going to recommend shading. It's a neat Zentangle pattern, even if you don't turn it into an alien. It's a really fun pattern that you can use to fill space on a tile, and you can add more or less of these weighted lines to create a really almost like a hypnotic effect sometimes, the way it can make that page spin. I did a drawing some time ago, I might even insert a picture of it if I can find it, where I did a almost like planets exploding, something like that. I see others online have done similar things, just to show you how this Mrth tangle can be used in all kinds of cool ways. But anyway, once we've got our graphite laid down, now we just want to blend that, right? Like we always do. So here we go. We've added our Pangea Mrth Tangleation there, or toonified version. And Gayle, let's see what you ended up doing.
I just did one.
Gayle just decided to do one. So we'll give you the bird's eye view here. I like how you've kind of tucked him under there. That's nice because it just sort of brings pieces together a little better and helps to unify the whole. Nicely done. You've done a nice... I love your eyes. They're good and clear. Here, let's zoom in so everyone can see that better. Nicely done. Almost like he's kind of surprised, like, what am I doing here on this page? So that's nice. Very well done.
Thanks.
And let's do our little side-by-side comparison. You've got the nice surprised alien. I've got the mom and pop or brother and sister or whatever they happen to be there. Just the pair of dudes. So, cool. So there we go. Another day down in our Inktober challenge. And with that, I think we're going to sign off for today. But we're, as always, super glad that you've chosen to watch or join with us in the drawing. I hope you're having fun, whether you're adding the crazy toon elements or just sticking with the traditional Zentangle. I hope you're having a great time with this Inktober journey. I know we sure are. Isn't that right, Gayle?
Yep, I'm having a lot of fun.
Excellent. Very good. Well, folks, we'll see everybody again tomorrow for day 20 in the next video. So until then, take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.